Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review for The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo, and I will be doing half of this spoiler free, and then the rest of the video I will be doing more of a discussion for this, but I will give you fair warning before I move on to the discussion so that you are not spoiled. So I already did a brief synopsis in my library book haul, but I'll just do another really quick one. This is a story of unrequited love following our main characters Lucy and Gabe. Lucy and Gabe met September 11, 2001, and that day kind of formed their relationship and their bond. And this story follows their lives after their relationship and then what happens after their relationship. And this part isn't a spoiler, but Lucy does get into a relationship with another man, and it's about that relationship and how Gabe is still somehow a part of her and how he still plays a role in her life even though they are not together. This is a very readable book. That is one thing I will definitely credit it for. I read the first 70 pages effortlessly, and then the second day I picked it up, I read the rest of the book pretty much in one sitting. So this is a book that you can definitely just devour very quickly. If you are thinking of doing the booktubeathon, you may want to consider this for meeting the challenge of reading the book in one day, because I think you easily could do so. A lot of the writing that makes it just so quick to read is that it's dialogue, 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 Lucy's interpretation, more dialogue, dialogue, dialogue. So that kind of writing really moves the story along pretty quickly. Also, the story covers a span of 13 years approximately. It may be even more or a little less, I'm not sure, but it does cover a really long period of time, and it's a pretty short book, so you're really just getting snapshots here of Lucy's life and what she wants to share with the reader. This is written in second person. Lucy is telling this whole story to Gabe. I did give this book 4 stars, but after thinking about it, it may not really be a 4-star read. It may be somewhere in the 3-star range. There was just something about the characters themselves and their decisions that I found to be selfish and childlike and just very self-absorbed, which I will get into a little bit more in my little discussion for this. I'm just gonna kind of leave it there though. I think it is worth the read. It takes place mostly in New York City, and I love books that take place in New York City, and as I mentioned before, it was so easy to read. So I mean, for that reason alone, it definitely kept me interested. It kept me turning the page, so I could not fault it for that. Now let's get into the discussion. So from here on forward, you have been warned. There will be spoilers. I'm gonna be talking about things, so leave now. Do not watch any further. Go read the book, and then you can watch this last half of the video. Okay, so as I mentioned, I thought that these characters were selfish. I'm gonna talk about Lucy first because she's our main character. So Lucy is hung up on Gabe, and even while she's hung up on Gabe, she gets into this relationship with another man. And the other man's name is Darren, and he's actually a really nice guy. Lucy doesn't feel like he understands her though as much as Gabe understood her, which I have to mention something on that. There were a couple times Lucy tries to make Darren understand her deeply the way that Gabe did so effortlessly, but then she almost stops herself each time. Like, she doesn't let herself really explain herself and show herself truly to Darren. And don't get me wrong, there were times in the story when Darren was just super selfish and self-absorbed so that he really didn't understand Lucy or her desires, like with working on the children's show and going back to work after maternity leave. There were some instances in there where Darren really didn't understand Lucy, and Lucy did try to make him understand, but there just were other times she would kind of brush off Darren's comments when she could have used those moments to show Darren how she really felt. And so that's why I didn't feel like she was so justified in being so ununderstood by her husband when she didn't take the opportunities that presented herself to do so. I think Lucy's decision to sleep with Gabe was one of the most selfish decisions. She also solely made this decision on the fact that she thought her husband was cheating with her. But let's just remind ourselves that Lucy did not once talk to Darren about the fact that he could possibly be cheating. For months and months, Lucy was just harboring this discontentment and this horrible nagging feeling that her husband was cheating on her, but she did nothing. She did not bring it up to him once. And then she just assumes he's having an affair, and then she sleeps with Gabe because she feels like she deserves it almost. And she deserves Gabe because he understands her and he's not cheating on her, and her husband is horrible and doesn't get her and doesn't love her anymore. And I don't really know how that actually justifies her actions. Say, for example, Darren actually was cheating on her, which he wasn't. But say he was. Just because he did something bad doesn't mean that she can do something bad. And back to the point of, does Gabe actually understand her? Gabe doesn't even understand Lucy. Like, he is so self-absorbed. I did not like the character of Gabe. So obviously he like really loves Lucy and he cares for her and he does get her passions and desires and dreams. But then he's so selfish that the first time when he left New York, he asked her to move with him to the Middle East. But then he does the exact same thing, but this time Lucy has kids and she has a life. And Lucy's been doing really well with these children's TV shows, and she's done like 3 or 4 up to this point, and she's kind of rocking it. And he's like, oh, you should come with me to Jerusalem. Why can't you offer any sacrifice for her? I did not like Gabe or how he treated Lucy in those moments. It just was a very much like, this is my dream and I'm gonna follow it, and you're gonna have to follow my dream too, but I'm not really gonna address what your dreams are actually. Now flashing forward to the end, so Lucy ends up pregnant by Gabe, and we don't actually know how this story ends, which I wish we did. Like, I wanna know what happened when Lucy went back to New York and what happened with her and Darren, and did she tell Darren that her child was actually Gabe's, because she has this letter written to her son, but we don't know if her son actually got the letter. We don't know if Darren knew about the letter. Like, we literally leave this story not knowing what Lucy's life looks like afterwards, which sometimes I'm okay with that ambiguity, but in this story I did want to know how it ended. We kind of knew all along, at least as you start reading it, that obviously something isn't right with Gabe, and I thought he was in a hospital like on his deathbed, and that's what it turned out actually happened. But because he died, Lucy didn't get to make the choice of Darren or Gabe or what life she was gonna choose. I wish that she had been able to work through it with Gabe still being there. Like, I wish she had to have a conscious decision with Gabe still being alive what to do, versus, well, now she definitely couldn't be with Gabe because he was definitely dead. I did not get super emotionally invested in the story because I didn't really like them, and I didn't feel like none of them were really good for each other. Obviously, it's still tragic that he died, and I'm not that heartless to say that that was a good thing that happened. It didn't hit me the way that it hit Lucy and the way that I think it was supposed to hit me. If you've read it and you felt differently about it, I would love to know. I feel like I'm in the minority with this opinion, so please tell me what you thought about this book and how you interpreted it, because I think that will help me to like this book a little more if I could just have some other perspectives. But I'm gonna end the video here, so thank you for watching and happy reading.